Okay, so let me kind of start over again. Introduce our guest, Steve Neifert, who is quite some time the owner of an auto care business called Burger and Transmission, although it's morphed into an auto care, total auto care. And then more recently started a new business called the Old Station Brewery. So we'll jump right in. We got some questions, and I'll kind of ask those. But again, you guys that are out there, feel free to jump in anytime. So before you went into business for yourself, and how old were you when you made the plunge?
I was 23 when I bought Burger and Transmission. It was an existing shop, although it wasn't much of an operation there. The guy that ran it was there, and he wasn't there, so it was kind of a part-time deal. So I was 23 years old in 1986. So you can do the math and figure out how old I am. And before that, I was working at an auto shop. I was a technician. Before that, I went to college here, pursuing an automotive degree. I didn't get that degree done back in the 80s, and I came back in around late 90s, 2000s, and finished that up. So I do have a 4-year bachelor's degree from Northern for automotive. I bought the business, decided I could do it better. I could make money. I wouldn't have to have a boss and all that type of thing. So that's kind of, I guess, why I did it. It wasn't expensive, although to me it was expensive at the time. I paid under $5,000 for the business. I had to put my race car in hock. I had a race car at the time, and I had to put that in hock at the bank to get the financing to buy the business. And I remember I had about $300 of operating capital to open my doors. So I go up to the power company, which was Montana Power at the time, and I said, I need to change the power over to my name. And they said, oh, well, since you don't have a business account, we're going to need a $300 deposit. So I had to put down my last $300 to the power company so they could hold on to that for me interest-free and make sure I paid my power bill. Anyways, I had basically zero operating capital. It had to work, or I was going to college where I ate ramen noodles, so I didn't want that. And so I had to grow my business. And that was going on 33 years here in October. October 4th is when we opened originally. So I got started. I was a car guy and still a car guy. Always been my.
I remember right, it was really started in just a garage far from the college. And operating that garage before you.
So we were in that, it was a 3-stall garage in a residential area. The neighbors weren't thrilled about it because you had cars parked up and down the streets, and because you're busy and you got cars everywhere. And so we operated in that building for about 5 years. And I moved down to where the Aqua John is now. There was another building that was there before they knocked it down. And I was there for 5 years. And then we decided we're going to buy a building instead of renting, and bought current location, and I bought next door the property to the east also, so expanded. It was kind of funny. I was looking back in some work today, and it's 2007 we decided to start doing more than just transmissions. So we went from being just a transmission shop. We turned away all the other stuff, and they had a leak water pump. Didn't get fixed at our shop. We fixed transmissions. So in 2007, we made that choice to become a full auto care facility. So we do everything except tires now.
That worked out pretty well.
Yeah, that's really where the growth has been in our business. Trend of the automotive world. I mean, everything changes, but the trend is there's less transmission shops, there's less transmission work. Cars last longer. Transmissions are more expensive now, but there's just less vehicles you're on. So in order to grow, you needed to expand into other things. Also, the computers are all tied together in the cars. So what can be perceived as a transmission problem might be an engine problem. So it comes to your shop, you need to be able to deal with it and take care of that customer all the way through. whatever their needs are.
You go into this because, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, this was your question, Steve, because you just really wanted to work for yourself, or were you thinking that, boy, I'm just going to make all kinds of money and be an entrepreneur and grow this?
A little bit of, I don't know about franchising and everything, but I think a little bit of both. So, you think you can do it better. You're working for the man, I can do it my way. He's making all this money, which is sometimes a misconception of really what the reality is. But, there was more opportunity. You are in control of which direction you want the business to go. Make the decisions that financially impact you and your family and all that stuff. Where if you're working for somebody, there's growth within that structure, but there's limited growth. So there's people that have taken this automotive thing into a bunch of chain stores, and sometimes you go broke too doing that. You can lose a lot of money, but still there's room for your own way.
Because this one you kind of addressed a little bit already, and so we can kind of maybe continue on. But have you ever faced the problem, maybe other than when you first started, of inadequate financing in your business? And if so, how did you deal with it?
I just call Byron up in the day, just give me a loan. That's how you deal with that, but you still got to pay that back. There's times with cash flow, so cash flow can kind of pinch you sometimes. So if you let things get out of hand, we're kind of reorganizing our finances again. You got to do that every so often. So looking at what we're spending, looking at rebudgeting some things, looking at, how can we get rid of some of these expenses that really aren't doing us any good. Some of the advertising we do really doesn't. So you always need to be looking through that. If you want to do an expansion, when we get the building, I always try to have some cash reserves so I can do some of this stuff myself. So every time I need a tool, I don't have to go beg for money. And so I can just pretty much float stuff and things. It's the big things like buildings. If you're going to do something major expansion on a building or something, you need to be putting money away in reserves so you can do the things that you need to do without paying interest on it, getting into debt, and those type of things. You can also make better decisions if you're not making them based on fear. Like, I won't be able to meet payroll next week. So if you don't have to be in that situation, you can make better decisions based on that.
So did you try to stay debt-free for most of your operation?
I've never been debt-free in my operation because we've always expanded. I went through a divorce 6 years ago. That cost me a lot. And so that I was getting pretty close, and then that hit me up. And then a couple years ago, I decided this crazy idea of the brewery. And so then that, there was some debt I had to incur there because we had to remodel a big building that was just junk. That was expensive. So me and debt-free haven't really danced together, but someday.
That makes him a good friend of bankers too.
Yeah, they like
it. Yeah. You got to have people paying interest if you're going to be a banker. So.
Yeah, you see how big the bank is now that I bank at, so I want to think that I had a little part of that.
Absolutely, yeah. Down talking to them actually about some more expansion plans, maybe. So quickly, Wells Fargo is closing down Big Sandy. I think just
Consolidating here or something.
That's what they do. Yeah. So you got to kind of ask them if they're going to do anything about that. So okay, we kind of hit already. How did you raise the capital? Thing that was decisive in your decision to purchase a business versus could you have just started your own at that same time, do you think? Scratch?
I probably couldn't have because I didn't have any really to speak of. And so the building that I was in, the tools and equipment came with the building in the lease. So, part of it's having all the weird special tools that you have to do transmissions at that time. And I didn't have all those. And so it would have cost me a lot more in capital and the building rent would have been more. So it was kind of an easy way to softly get in that and not have a ton of expenses. You know, if I look back now, I probably would have done that the same, but I probably would have moved forward faster. I've been doing this for 30 some years now, and I probably would have maybe moved downtown sooner, maybe expanded sooner. I probably would have done some of those things. Of course, hindsight is, 2020. And so looking back, I would have done that. But starting my own business, I probably wouldn't have done that from scratch. Only what I knew then, I was 23 years old. Crap.
Did you say 5,000 or 105,000 to start? And did you end up like leasing the business from the owner, or did you have the tools and everything to go and you got it all for $5,000, done deal?
No, the tools didn't come with what I bought. Basically, what I bought was inventory. There was some parts and some different things. The person that owned the building owned the equipment. So the person that owned the building used to own the business, used to run the business. He sold the business to someone else that just went in there and operated it. Clark.
Oh, sure.
And anyways, so he just, all he could sell me was the inventory and the things he owned, and like I say, the tools and equipment were just part of the rent I paid. So that actually worked out good for that, to get started.
You guys probably saw that in the book as you read through. I mean, that's one of the key ways that a lot of small businesses do get started. Not only the location, but also some of the major tools and equipment, those types of things, because it's pricey. Give us an example of a piece of equipment you use today and what the cost is.
Scanner.
Just the scanner.
Just a scanner. Just a it's fancy, but expensive. They update and all these things. So so scan tools weren't really big in the 80s because they really weren't computer controlled stuff. And so anyways, technology has changed a lot to where things are a lot more money than they used to be. We bought an alignment machine. We bought, you're always buying things like that. Back in the day, I'm going to from scratch and I'm going to do all this stuff. That would have been a big risk, and I probably didn't have the credit or nothing to have finance something like that.
Sure.
Actually, he's our congressperson. He wrote a book called Bootstrapping. If you want to read a decent book, and it's really, he's probably in there because that's kind of what it's about. How you
scare me if I read it.
How you start a business on little or nothing, and how you make it work. A lot of it has to do with scrounging and trading and you name it.
Think of like a restaurant business. If you wanted to open up a restaurant, you wanted to go in and buy all new stuff and build a facility, or even take a blank square box of a building and put all that in there. It costs you a lot of money, but you can probably lease a restaurant with all that stuff in there for quite a bit less money. So I mean, somebody's already depreciated and paid for all that stuff and everything else. It's really not worth a lot to the building owner sometimes, but it's worth its prices to the guy trying to start up. So
we used to say, just so you know, in banking, that somebody was buying new restaurant equipment for $1. If we had to repossess it and resell it, you'd sell it for about 10 cents on the dollar. That much of a difference.
So ouch.
Big ouch. Big ouch for the bank.
Yeah.
But for somebody that's starting a business, if you can latch on to some of that stuff.
Find used restaurants going out of business. Equipment.
Yep. Use an auto care, maybe transmission specific.
It's kind of been my passion. I worked on a lot of transmissions. They always intrigued me. It's kind of my specialty when I was working before the shop, started the shop. So I was a transmission guy. I also did alignments and did other things too, but that kind of was my focus. So that's just kind of what I did. So that's what I knew. This business came up and the guy offered it to me and he wanted out, found a girlfriend in Helena, he wanted to follow, and he did that.
How that worked out.
I don't think he's married. I don't think he's with her anymore. Still got the shop though.
Were there any employees when you first got started?
There was one one old guy that kind of came with the place, pulled transmissions and smoked cigars and cleaned parts. And so that's kind of, he just did it. He was retired. He just wanted a little extra money. You know, we didn't get up early in the morning. He maybe quit early in the day. But he kind of come in there and he knew his way around the place. So he kind of knew where this tool was or where that was. Because I really didn't get any guidance from the guy I bought the place from. He pretty much wanted out. And so, yeah, the old guy kind of helped me through that stuff. Within not too long, somebody to pull transmissions. I was the transmission builder at that time. So I hired somebody to do that. Then another guy that's with me still. So he's been there almost 30 years. So yeah, now I've got 11 employees at the business.
11 employees just at the
Transmission
auto?
shop.
Yeah, the auto care shop. Gotta make notes here. Talking a little faster than I can write, so.
Okay. Slower down.
Decision to expand into the brewery business. And obviously, you said, running around kind of independent stuff, and see this passion or.
It's another passion. I've been a home brewer for 20 years. Not quite 20 years. So kind of did that. I did that off and on. I wasn't, super about it, but it was kind of a hobby and passion of mine. So anyways, I'd done that a long time. What happened was this building, everybody looks at that building that we're in and go, that somebody needs to do something with that building. There'd be a cool this or be a cool that. Everybody's got their own ideas of what that building would be. So if that building wasn't a picture, I probably wouldn't have done it. It was kind of that passion meets opportunity thing. And so the building came down to what I thought was a reasonable price until I remodeled it. Then I thought otherwise. It's like, but you can't build history. History's already there. You use it, make the best of it. So anyways, it was kind of an opportunity I saw. Worst, doesn't make me any money. It's got garage doors in it. I put some hoists in it. So worst case scenario, I got a backup plan, but that isn't the plan. But anyways.
And for you guys that aren't familiar with Haver, the building he's talking about, it was a service station, a fashioned full service station. It was called Helney's Oil or Helney Service, and it had been on for
39. 1939.
So
That's a lot of history.
60 plus years, yeah, until it shut down. It had it.
Yep.
And then that building sat empty for
10, 12 years.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. Pigeon coop, basically. But it's an old, cool block building, brick and block building, and it's on the historic registry because of its design and its style that it was back in those days. So it's got some cool features. That makes it ideal for a brewery, not so much as a shop, probably as it is a restaurant or something like that. It's for that.
Steve's got some old photos in the brewery that are kind of cool, old photos of the station. And you can see, wasn't there a motel or something behind it, or any type of apartment, if I remember right, or
There's
one of the photos?
depends on which photo you're looking at. There's some other gas stations in town too that it's pictures are of.
Okay.
And so
Could have been
probably
one of the
one
others.
of those, yeah.
Gotcha.
Body shop that was behind it at one time. They knocked that down. The one that Roderick is in down is the Oldsmobile or something dealer.
That'd make a good.
Make a good parking lot. He just wants too much money for it right now, so we'll have to wait.
Yeah, maybe go.
Fall down.
Well, let's since we started talking a little bit about the brewery, you've kind of already told us how you got your idea and concept. Question is, are you competitive with the other breweries that are in Haver?
I think we are. I think in general, competition makes everything better. So notice the one brewery has stepped up their game since we were open and have opened. More things, probably make better beer than they used to. I think competition naturally should bring up everybody to be better. Competitive wise, they're all basically the same price for beers.
Is that the one up at the Moose Church? I was only in there once.
He was
but I thought
more.
it was $5 for a pint.
Yeah. But then they had a sale the other day. They were selling some beer they're trying to get rid of for $1 a pint. So
Oh, wow.
out of there. So
What you pay for it, please.
I've been up there when he first opened just to say hi.
I was going to be through and stuff.
So I've been up there. So
Yeah.
it's not a great probably location.
Malls, the one we're talking about, there's one that a couple put in up at the mall here. And following any of the trends nationwide, malls are kind of wayside. This is the nice way of putting it. And ours in particular, the main tenant that's there right now is in the process of remodeling another building. They're going to be, I don't know if they're still planning to get it done this fall. Maybe not. They're doing the same thing in Great Falls too. Two towns, and they're going hell back for feathers. So I hate to see their bills.
Yeah, I would trade.
Oh.
I wouldn't trade. I mean, I wouldn't trade.
Yeah, the one up at the mall has made me a little nervous, but I think that's a husband, wife, and I don't know that they have a lot of employees, and maybe it's just
Maybe keep it
teamwork.
pretty low key and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't know.
I could be get a little traffic up there, obviously. So. So, what do you think your strengths, weaknesses in brewing business compared to the other breweries?
One of the strengths is our location being centrally located downtown. We have more square footage inside. We have a little more space inside. We have definitely more room in the back for our production side. We could expand if we wanted to. It's laid out for what we're doing. One of the weaknesses probably, and that'd be me personally, would be time. The time I split between the two. So I can't devote as much time as I would like to the brewery. So that's probably one of my weaknesses there. Parking might be another weakness. Plenty of parking there, but you're not parking right at the building. There's parking behind, there's parking on the street. There's parking, plenty of parking downtown, but it's not right, like you can pull right up to the front of it. That may be one of the little bit of an issue. Like Byron said, maybe the building next to me is down in price. I think the parking lot that would change. I mean that'd be one of them. Being the established business like is, they had a lot of the learning curve and a lot of that whole, because there's a learning curve to everything you do, and breweries are definitely no exception. And so they had a lot of that figured out already. So we're all going through that process where we're learning things and how to be more efficient, how to be, make better beer and what the market wants and how to market things. So those learning curves we're going through, where the established place has already got that kind of figured out. I don't copy them, that's but they've got a lot of that done. So that learning curve, getting up to speed, getting up. One advantage is I don't have to make money there. It doesn't have to. It can't really cost me a lot. I don't have my livelihood doesn't depend on that. I don't have to, like when I started the transfer, I had no other alternative, and so I had to make money. And so I think that's an advantage to me in that business. I don't have to treat it that like if I don't take money out, we're not paying the rent, we're not paying whatever the light bill or something. So.
And yet, obviously, it motivated you when you started the transmission show.
Well, yeah, it was definitely
had to work.
Yeah, starving is a good motivator.
Yeah.
So you got to make dollars in other stuff. You got to make dollars day one almost. You can finance enough or have some backers or do something. So all this is on my own. So
How many employees do you have at the brewery?
typically about 6, and they're part-time. So they just kind of different shifts. They pick up different, we're not open all day long, obviously. And so most people that work there just want some extra money, want kind of a social event. They can be part of it. They can get a night out, make a few extra bucks, make some tips, and some people and enjoy it. So it's a whole different game that way.
Does that include your brewmeister? Is he just part-time?
I'm the brewmaster.
Yeah. Okay.
I have a part-time guy.
It's kind of
Yeah. Well, he's pretty good.
Good.
So he's actually really good. So.
well, since we're on the beer, I warned Steve at Swanson. I think he was the only one on when I first warned him. But sometimes you and I get carried away talking about beer.
Yeah.
When are you going to brew a hazy?
On the list.
Okay. I think that's what you said last time.
You know how long my list is? So right now there's a strawberry wheat in the fermenter.
Yeah.
Pretty much done. I just gotta go down and carbonate it. The Oktoberfest lager that
Okay.
is in process right now. And there's going to be a bunch of others coming too. But there's so many styles, so many. We have 12 tap handles. You know, that's a lot of different beers. But you also got to move the beer in order to open up a tap handle. So you can't just keep making it and it sits in the cooler. So
Four main ingredients. Hundreds.
unreal.
styles.
I have no idea what the combinations are.
Yeah.
It's certainly high.
Yeah.
You brew to style. So you brew, there's styles that you brew to. So, you know, an American wheat's a style, and then there's variations within that. But there's kind of the style guides tell you how bitter it should be, or how clean or clear, or the colors, and all these things. Intense and that kind of thing. So you work within the style. Then it's your interpretation of that style is the flavors and the different hops and different techniques. And
Every brewery has their, let's call it signature beer. I don't know, their most popular beer. It's kind of strange because it seems like for every brewery it's different. Yours is
are probably from
the
it's the raspberry wheat probably sells the best of all our beers.
Yeah.
We just put a Mexican lager on that. And that's a super good beer. So my favorite ends up being kind of whatever's new. I get tired of the other stuff. It's like I've drank a lot of that. I want something new. And so sometimes when I'm brewing for me. I want it to sell too, but I mean, I'm brewing something that I like or I want to try.
You know, my favorite one I've tried lately was the Shady. The
Shandy?
Shady.
I've not had that.
It's an AZ or an APA New England style. Yeah, real citrusy kind of.
Yeah.
Not really sweet. A little bit. Filtered.
Oh yeah, it's on our list.
Okay, I'll just keep bugging you. And I'll try to come down more often and put it at the brewery.
The mango IPA kind of sort of fit that bill a little bit. We sold a ton of that stuff. We're bummed on that. I'm going to make it again, but it was kind of it was a fruit IPA, but it was actually mango and passion fruit.
Yeah. Amazed though how they can get. Sorry, told you we're getting off on the fruit subject a little bit. But how they can get beers without any fruit to
taste like
fruity.
Yep.
Yeah. APAs are just the different. Have you? One of our former students, he just graduated a couple years ago, started growing hops commercially. The Judith River. Have you had any contact with any of the local hops growers?
Not really. That's another variable that we won't be able to really control. So we'll have less variables. You know, they just sell you clone hops. We typically use pelleted hops that have been tested for what their bitterness is and all that stuff. So we know what the alpha acids are. We know what to expect. They're pretty consistent. So your recipes don't change so much, but if you start introducing a new unknown variable, I don't know what you're. So I'm a little afraid of of that right now until
Yeah.
that's been perfected to Cascade hops. Okay, well, I've tried. Somebody brought some to me at the Brew Fest. I taste them. It's like I don't taste any hop, no anything out of that. It's like these are decorations on the wall. So
Yeah, I think it'd be kind of cool if that was a industry, kind of like the pulse crops are doing now, growing up in this way, more people. It has to
I think it will
irrigate
happen.
it.
I think it will happen.
Yeah, I think a lot of them are saying that this guy, I think, is going to this. I still think too, it'd be kind of cool if the guy did a batch a year, did say, hey, you're gonna get what you get, you know.
There's places that do that. They just bring them hops and they throw it in a big thing and make it. And it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know? And if you can kind of taste them, smell them, make a little hop tea out of them, and figure out where you need to go with that, what kind of beer you need to make.
Right.
It's really low in hops, so you really don't have a lot of that flavor anyways. It's a stout or a porter.
It's gotta love
I do, but
it. All right. Let's see.
sorry about that.
Yeah. I warned him. So let's see. During the first, you already told us you hired a few people. Within the first few months of your business, did you have to fire anybody?
Been pretty rare. The last few years, I probably fired more people than I did the first 20 years.
You've had more people for you,
I have
too,
more
so that
people
kind of
working
makes
for
sense,
me and patience maybe for that.
Yeah.
And so not going to do the job, or they're not going to come in on time, or they're that thing, I'm going to have to let them go. It's just not in the best interest to keep them. So, but it's the long-term people I've had to, that's been solid.
And I was at lunch with people that own the restaurant where it's eating lunch, you know, help. Unbelievably difficult to find help. Are you finding that same problem, or do you think maybe because Haver's got college here, you've got a little bigger?
Yeah, it's still a problem nationwide. It's in automotive shops and type of facilities. It's tough to find good help for that. So I want to be patient with people but sometimes just can't invest the time into them, train them and stuff if they're not going to just show up. And so it's been easier to find help in the brewery side because part-time, it's more of a fun thing they do. So it's actually easier. Hiring, that's somebody's second job. Hiring them to pay their main bills and all that stuff. So it's
part-time because they're going to college. I know you got at least one of them.
Yeah. So you get students, you get moms with some kids that need a night away from the kids. They tell me, and you get paid for it. You know, it's socialized.
Yeah.
So that's part of it.
Steve, you want to tell them what you wrote in question number 11?
Yeah, I just thought it was funny when you came up on the list there when we did wastewater plant up in Havre. The steering went out in my wife's Honda, and you guys put the new pump in there. And it was one of the first times that I'd been into a mechanic shop where I was actually pleased with the amount the bill was and how fast you guys turned it around. So funny to hear that you only started doing that in 2007. That was I think 14 or 15. We were up in that. So I knew your shop when you came on the list, and you guys were highly recommended by everybody in the community as to where I should take that to.
Good deal. Good deal. We try. We're not perfect, that's for sure, but we try.
Are there any things that you think would prevent your business from growing? Did you have a question, Gina? Okay. So back to any things that you think might prevent your business from growing, either business?
You have a limited marketplace. You know, Havre's not huge. So there's a limit to how many cars you're going to get in. Called theory of been reading on.
Yeah.
So basically, whatever holds you back, like if you all of a sudden if you hire some sales team and you can sell a bunch more automotive repair, now the constraint might be the shop. You can't get the work done, the facility or the proposal, the technology or whatever it is. But if you have a great group of guys in the back and really get work done, but you have nobody up front that can sell, then you have a constraint at the front. You're only going to grow to the constraint that's there. And so you have to basically open up that pipeline, whatever that may be. So something I'm just kind of, it's not, I don't think it's not a new concept, but it's maybe new to me. I've never really heard it presented that way. You can think of it as just a bottleneck. There's a bottleneck somewhere. And so you can go to that bottleneck, whatever that may be. And so,
weak link of the chain.
yeah, weak link of the chain, whatever it is, however you want to look at it, but it's called theory of constraints.
So are you reading Goldrat's book or you got the audio book?
Just talking with somebody that we're just discussing those things. So
You should get that guy's the audio book on that constraints. He
name?
did a really good job. I think it's just theory of constraints.
Who's the guy? Or just Google
Goldrat's
that.
his
No.
last name.
Okay.
Let's see. Yeah, I really enjoyed listening to that. He did a good job with several people doing the reading in there, and it's a good read.
And, it's really not a hard concept to get. But
Yeah, I lied. The book is called The Goal. The Goal. Yep.
the goal. Okay.
And who's the author, Steve?
So the guy's name is Eli M. Goldrat. Goldrat. It's an older book. This one I've got's the 50th anniversary edition.
Yeah, it's nothing that's new. Another book that's good. Different times. Was a couple. These are pretty simple. One is it's kind of just a simple little book. It's kind of dumb, but it's kind of stuff in plain English, I guess. The other one is the E-Myth Revisited. So E-Myth, Entrepreneurial Myth. Always creating systems and procedures so you get the same results, whether you're a one-person business. You basically build your business. You're going to make it into a chain, like McDonald's, like create systems and procedures in place so you can get to consistent results. And so that whole side of that. So you think of your business as bigger than just you or the one person. And we use a lot of those concepts because you want to intake the cars the same. You're not robots, but you want to. Everybody asks different questions every time that you bring a car in. You're going to get all kinds of different results. Doing things the same, and a lot of that's forms and checklists and those type of things. We inspect a car checklist. So these are the things that we look for. These are the every car is different. Everything's going to have different things on it, but there's some similarities like cooling system and that. Anyways, you kind of that book, it gives you the foundations for some of that thinking. We are not McDonald's. We are not one of our problems in the automotive industry, not the beer industry, but the automotive. We don't really have a that can walk in with an Audi and want something. They can walk in with and kick them to the curb. Me, yeah. But they, can come in with all different sorts of problems that can be combined with other problems. Where you go into McDonald's, you can't order a steak. You can't order anything but what's on their menu. So that kind of keeps the systems tighter in their businesses than like it.
Yeah, I read the E-Myth contractor book, and it was the concept, right, with the applying the systems, and their big push in that book was it helps you catch things that you miss when you're, we do residential painting, and it just helps you catch stuff that you might miss if you didn't have that checklist or that system to go through, and then an owner's expecting something to be done and you didn't look at it because you were in a hurry that day and didn't use your sheet.
List when we open the brewery too, because it's totally set up. I mean, that business is totally set up. You do the repetitive things all the time. And if you needed to train somebody, the problem with training somebody new, if you had no checklist, and you had nothing there, you're going to tell them to do number 1, you're going to tell them to do number 3, and maybe 4, number 7, and then you're going to skip all these different things. And if you have a checklist, once you show them how to do those things in the checklist and they actually check, and then there's some accountability. So if you come in the morning and they pencil whip list, like the technicians will do some, they'll basically check everything, but they didn't really look at it or they didn't really do it, and you find that they didn't do it, then you have something that, hey, it says here that you did this, and we find that you didn't do this. You didn't clean the bathroom, or you didn't, whatever that is on the checklist. Ability for those type of things.
Skipping down a little bit, I'm skipping all over the place, but I think you had any personal qualities that made you the right fit for being your own business person, your own boss?
Give up to a fault. So whatever that is. What's the right word? Persistence is there, but there's
Reliable.
Yeah, some of the things I was kind of wondering who was just in general, quite anything. Like I said, what does it take? And you've been hitting on that, but advice for just anybody that start their own small business, what to expect. They will kind of say it sounds like a lot of time devotion, a lot of, I would imagine, dedication.
That's a good word. Dedication to the cause. I mean, and knowing that right off the bat, you don't go out and buy the new four-wheel drive pickup in the boat and house, and you're going to eat ramen noodles for a while. You got to lower that bar, but you also got to have goals enough to. You shoot for something that's not very high. If your thing's a bar to go over, you're not going to get any better. So you need to have some high bars and some maybe continually expand. If you're not growing, you're dying kind of things. So if you're not, you should be increasing some sales and getting better, that type of thing. So drives.
Any things, and you kind of told us a little bit on the auto care business, any things you would do different?
That's a tough one. Business, yeah, I would have probably moved faster, expand quicker, knowing that it worked. The brewery business, I don't know enough to know yet on what I do different. Somebody asked me the other day, when the guy that remodeled helped do a lot of the remodeling, and he said, now they're using the facility, what would you have done differently in the remodel part? I said, I probably would have put a few outlets in. There wasn't much that I thought that was weird, that I don't walk around the corner and trip over something. I don't know enough to know some of the stuff yet.
So I have a question that's not on the list, but how formal was your business planning?
What's that?
Did you have, your 6 month, 1 year, and all that strategic planning laid out, or did you just go for it?
It's been kind of a go for it deal. There's been time. So when we're doing expansion, and we pencil the numbers out to see what we need to get, we're actually going through that right now. We're rebudgeting some things, and we're looking at, it's that time where it's like, we've been going along for a while. Let's take a look at everything and see where we want to increase our sales. What do we need for technician productivity? What do we need for technicians? What are we going to need for equipment? Those type of things. We're going through that process as we speak. I was just doing that today. We hired a consultant to come in and look at things. So that's really expensive. But, they should be, they've seen some things. It's like, why are you doing this? Like, this kind of things morph into that. So we are making projections. I've done that in the past, but it's not as an ongoing should. So I don't like to work that much. I'm a hands-on guy. And so I'm not a super big fan of that. And I think a person, if you're going to do something differently, I'd be more of a paperwork guy or create systems that give you nice paperwork information. Maybe make somebody else accountable for filling that out. You don't have to. But, so yeah, we're looking at right now, projecting, can we get to here, and in profit margins here. So what do we need to do? We're going to create some new standards for some technicians that work here. These are what we need to see from you, because otherwise you're wasting my space. I have a limited amount of bays and space, and so if I'm not utilizing those very well, yeah, you can add on and make more bays or do something like that. But if you're wasting your bays with low productivity, and it's not just the technician's fault, all the processes and stuff play, but if you're wasting your space, well, you don't need to add on, you just need to be more efficient and productive. So.
Good question that Mary Carol asked. Have you ever felt like discontinuing either of the businesses?
You think about that because you think, you know what, I should just sell this place or sell this building or do this and somewhere warm, when it's bad or you got a certain car that you bought at the top. I felt like driving cars into a tree before and let my insurance company go with them because I can't figure out how to fix them and it just frustrates me, or the techs can't figure out or whatever, for whatever reason, whatever it is. This thing is just a demon car. And so there's always times you think, and eventually you have to unwind it. I'm 56 years old, so you're going to have to unwind some of this stuff and not work as hard as you do. So, yeah, it's not a dream of mine really yet, but it's an obsession to get rid of everything. Someday.
I'll tie that into the next couple questions then. One, has your family been a big part of your business? We already heard about the divorce a little bit, but tell us about other family then.
Son is working there now at the shop, and eventually it's going to be his baby. So part of what we're doing now too is structuring for that future. So restructuring some of the corporation stuff, and so there's some trusts and things in place that so that. But yeah, it's been a big part of the business. If nothing else, sometimes the family is sacrificed for the business. Unfortunately, that happens because it's kind of part of the business becomes part of your family too. And so sometimes you devote time to that when maybe you should to other too. But the family is.
Do you like incorporated right away, or did you start out as a proprietorship?
Sole proprietorship, and until you really own some property and there's something there, it's not a huge probably advantage to there's some maybe some protection in case of a lawsuit or something like that, but there's probably not a lot of advantages until you actually own some property and do some of that. I own the property, lease corporation type stuff. So the change how much you're taxed on stuff, your tax implications, your liabilities can change. That's what we're restructuring now too. We're going to put all our buildings in a different corporation, a holding company, and that we lease money is paid to that. And there's some different things you can do to save some more tax. But until you really make any money, it really don't matter. what you do, because even S Corp, all that stuff passes through to you. So really it doesn't change your tax exposure until you own property.
Gotcha.
And you touched on this a little bit. Are you actively doing a succession plan
That's part of what we're doing.
to take?
That's part of the whole big picture of restructuring. The corporate put some stuff in trust, just do some things for the future.
Is Garrett been trying to push you out the door, or is he?
He's a little nervous about that responsibility, I think.
That's good.
Some days he wants to push me out of the door just because I'm in his face or something. That's part.
A couple of questions that were sent to me via email from Dennis, I think is the pronunciation, Denis. So, bought your first business. Can you kind of walk us through the steps? And the question asks about creating a contract, and just the steps, the legal steps that you had to go through in order to purchase the business, how you establish value, what it was worth. Then the funding, it's kind of a multifaceted.
Oh, the time frame was probably only a couple months. Such a small amount that there wasn't really any business valuation done. I probably learned more from the valuation standpoint, from the divorce of how to value a business than I did from actually buying and running a business. So most of the time, the valuation on a business is you look at not your gross sales, but your gross profit. There's a formula, and each industry is different with that formula. So each industry is going to have a formula of like 2 or maybe 3 times your gross or your net profit. And so not your gross profit, but your net profit. And so they want to see, will this place pay for itself? And if you're going to go to a bank, they're going to want to see, how are we going to get our money out of this? How are we going to get our money back? And if it's such a, put my race car up for Hawk, that's $5,000. So I mean, that was the amounts compared to what most businesses are going to cost you. So most of them, if your business makes you 100,000 a year net, and in your industry 2 to 3 times is that valuation, so it'd be $1,000 for the business, and then that isn't really including your kind of business fixtures, tools, those type of things. Not the building. Them are all kind of separate things. Really answered it. I would think that normally in a situation buying an existing business, how long that time takes is going to be how much motivation there is on the person selling, financing takes to do. If you're doing like government paperwork, FHA or whatever the funding mechanisms are, SBA. If you're doing that, there's going to be some time frames that are longer because it's got to go through the bureaucracy and red tape of everything. And owners will find, people that are getting rid of the business are going to, because they just want out a lot of times. They're at the point they're not maybe making, look pretty close, I think, at. So if their financial statements aren't in order and they say, oh yeah, I make a lot of money, I just don't show it on my books. Don't believe that. Don't trust that. They need to show that on their books. They need to,
not just on their regular books, but on their
tax returns, right? Yeah. So if you're running 2 sets of books, that's not cool either. So yeah, you can dodge some taxes. That's not really the right way. And so if you ever want to sell that business, and look at the owner, look at how he lives. Does he have money, or is he living in a dirt shack on the wrong side of the tracks? I mean,
that's not always
true too, because they can be financed and all this stuff and be, living past their means and going broke too. So that's not a total.
You'd be surprised how many people live in dirt shacks that had lots of money at their bank.
That's true. I mean, yeah. So I guess Byron makes a good point there.
Well, but it's kind of how they care for things. So I think as much as anything, whether they're living in a shack or they got the option, taking care of it,
take care of it,
pride in it.
So, So I mean, you know, you got to kind of have a gut there too. You got to for some things, and then the numbers are going to be what gets you financed. And if someone were to want to sell a business, they probably better put their financial house in order business before they go to sell it. So the potential buyer can look back at 2 or 3 years and see what really happened.
People screw themselves because they're so interested in saving tax dollars that they do everything they can to not show income, go to try to sell the business, and
It's not worth anything.
just can't finance that. There's,
Yeah.
how am I going to get paid back? So,
One, you don't want to buy yourself a job. So I mean, look at a business and you're going to go, oh, I'm going to make the man. It's like work for the man. You know, it's not worth it if you can't make more. There's definitely more aggravations and more risk and more everything else that can go along with a business. Yeah, you might not like your boss or whatever, but you can shut the boss switch off out the door for the most part. Not always, but I mean, you can a lot of times if it's not your business, you can off and you walk away. Opposed to if it's your business, there's things that come with that don't shut off when you walk out the door. So
when you started the brewery, did you enlist maybe more help from lawyers, accountants, mentors, people in the industry?
more than I did, and I did more reading and more research because there's more at stake in a way because you can't go into that business. Cost of entry is greater because you could work on cars in your own garage at home with your toolbox. You're not going to be really making any money, but you could do that. And you can homebrew, I guess, but you can't sell it and you can't do that. So the cost of entry, you need in order to turn the light switch on for the first day and open a business in that regards, you pretty much have to have everything you need to turn that business on. You need to have the glassware, you need to have the taps working. All the stuff has to be there. No matter how big your brewery is, really, it kind of all has to be there. Scale it accordingly, I mean, obviously, but still you had to have more there. So when we opened that business, basically it was a corporation from day one. We knew the structure it was going to be. We talked to lawyers. There was lawyers involved to some degree in some of the licensing things you have to. And there's a bunch of BS in this red tape you have to deal with. There was realtors involved, of course, because you're buying property. And so there was more things involved in that business, even the normal businesses, because normal, like you open up an automotive shop or a clothing store or whatever, there's no business license in Havre. There's nothing you really have to do. You can hang a shingle, order your inventory, turn your open sign on, and you're technically in business. In the liquor, cigarette, firearm, tobacco world, haircutting. There's other ones that are weird like that. Yeah, well, I don't get that one, but you have to have licenses. You have to have these things. You have inspectors coming up. You have to put a big plan together for just to get licensed. You have floor plans, and you have to have how they make sure that they're going to get their tax money. How you're going to go about making sure that
Everything.
Oh, it was huge paperwork. Huge, awful, terrible. I hated it. I told you I don't like paperwork. So that was, now that it's all done, there's not that much paperwork.
The ongoing stuff isn't too bad.
The ongoing stuff isn't. I created some worksheets to track everything and that kind of stuff. So it's really not too bad to do the report. It does all your employee stuff. So that's.
I'm going to throw away a batch of beer.
Two.
Really?
2 full-size batches. Yep.
Oh, that hurts.
It was awful. But yeah, I mean, you had the time and your money invested in it, and it just.
Yeah, it happens.
It happens, and haven't had to for a while. I think we fixed the problems that we had. Because again, you don't know the learning curve things, and get better at some of the processes you do to make sure things are quality. So, yeah, two of them. One we sat on that beer forever hoping. I'm not serving this stuff, sorry.
I just baked it and everything.
Oh, yeah, yeah, I'm sitting there in cakes, I dumped six cakes.
So that wasn't easy process of dump the cakes.
No, it's easy to dump them, it just, it sucks because you're just throwing money away kind of, but it's like, it's not getting better, I'm not serving. I don't know what else you can do? The bums drink it somewhere. You know, yeah, and alcohol for sure. It's like 9%. It was a high gravity. That's an idea. Yeah,
Next time, yeah.
yeah.
That'll work.
Trade them for some
They're like the old
chickens.
life commercial, give it to Mike.
Yeah. You won't go blind, I guarantee you that.
Yeah. I was kind of hoping to keep these at about an hour, and we're about there. So, and I know Steve's got other stuff he needs to do too, but are there any last minute questions or other Steve or Carl you guys want to ask?
Pretty much.
Covered most of the stuff on the list, yeah. Considering that, any other words of wisdom then that you have for us?
Reiterate the part about buy or start a business, not getting to your personal debt there. I will also say though, you need some income demand. So if you just live in the bad side of the tracks in your trailer house and don't want any more, you're really not going to grow your business. You're just going to kind of coast along, not better because you don't have any income demand. So you need to have some goals for a better life and that type of thing. So you do force yourself to make the business better too. I mean, I don't know. But so you need some income
It
demand.
makes good sense, and I'm just glad to hear that you didn't have all these plans and everything 100% ready to start up a business and do everything Byron's been beating into our heads over the last 3 years with a one-man show and money to hire the accountants and lawyers. It's tough.
And your plans are going to change. So you got to be, things can't be concrete. You got to have some kind of, maybe some parameters on, and then some goals and sales goals and that kind of thing. But you also got to be flexible enough to, you can change on the fly if you need to. So you see a trend coming or you see something happen and you can, he's bugging me about what beers I have coming, what I'm going to make. And it's like, I kind of see what's selling. I kind of see what's going on, and I want to kind of trend in that direction. So I got a big long list. Everything on that list won't get done. If we see something that sells and start going that direction, you can't do everything the same. So you have to change.
Not everybody has my taste in beer.
That's why we have 12 different tap handles. A lot different from the one to the other,
Yeah.
So
Yeah. On the street, and the other brewery has 12.
yeah, so there's a lot of
too, so.
different tap here in Havre, Montana. So
You guys don't realize how blessed we are. When I went to Steve and I went to college, there were beers in the world.
yeah, Rainier.
Budweiser, Miller, and Coors. Well,
Rainier was popular.
PBR.
Yeah, there was a few, but none of them were really good.
No.
So
They're all just cheap.
you didn't know any better though. You didn't know what you didn't know. So say
I'm going to add, if you want to hear horror stories about people buying businesses without looking at it, just ask. Those for my that's for Darch.
he's probably got a lot of them. I don't know any. Well, I mean, I probably know people that have done that.
I bet there's one if
From
I
the-
brought it
from
up,
the-
you'd remember.
What's that?
I bet there's one if I brought it up. You'd remember. Your industry, right? Well, guy, 10 times not by business. Yeah. Lawsuit 6 months later.
Yeah. So I guess I'm one of the lucky ones.
Well, that's something I've constantly said though too, Steve. It's small. So many of the businesses that I knew that ended up being successful with people, and we'll hear that maybe over and over again. Some of the guests that we have in here too, they start small and build.
Well,
Yeah.
let's take to the. They started their garage, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these guys started small, and they're like one of the hugest, biggest companies in the world. So, I mean, and it took them.
Yeah.
It wasn't yesterday that they did it. Yeah, there's some overnight successes, but if you look at the look at a lot of it. Look at even the music industry. I like music and I like that type of thing. And look at the music industry and some of the bands paid their dues for maybe 10, 15 years before they really got. Then they might get big, but look at when some of these bands started. You're going, there's no way that Motley Crue started in the 70s. You know?
Yeah. There's actresses that wait tables for years before they get their break.
Their little break. I mean,
they get a little bit, do whatever it takes.
Where you can. It happened to be at the right place at the right time. That's being at the right place at the right time. When he sees you, somebody doing whatever it is. Business is a little different than that, but still, it is being at the right place at the right time too.
Well,
if you were to go out today and you could open up myself a video store, how do you think that would work? There used to be, that was a growth market in Napa for a while. There was video stores all over the place.
C stores that would add a video section. Grocery store had.
IGA just got rid of their.
Yeah. Yeah, just
standalone. They remodeled the. It's Dusher Agency down there. It used to be in a little gas station.
Mm-hmm.
Knocked that down and built a brand new building for a video store. And I mean, that was the.
And it was a good sized building.
Good sized building, yeah. And so that used to be the one. Meat Place used to be a video store. Same guy, a model of those.
Yeah.
And the one where the car wash is had a video store thing in it. Didn't it have a video store at one point?
Might have.
Clay's had them. IGA had a big one. Creative Leisure.
Oh yeah.
Whole big building devoted to books and video stores, and Blockbuster's no longer. You can go down the list. I used to love going to Hastings. I'm still a CD guy. I don't like download music. I like the hard copy still, but now what's our choice? Amazon. Walmart has a little. Yeah. That stuff's just kind of.
Amazon or eBay. If you're on old ones, you can go on eBay.
Yeah, find some old stuff. But,
yeah.
But, video store model wouldn't be a good business to go in now. And it used to be hot. Those trends, those trending things. I mean, even breweries. That it's hot right now. It's flattening out. It's gonna, where it'll
get to be more mature. Yeah, it's been definitely a growth.
Yeah.
But is it hopping over to that?
I think it's flattening out. I don't know if it's mature, but it's going to be slower growth, I believe. So you're going to, what you do with that business as a whole, not just the beer you make, not just it's not instant. It's what you do to keep people coming. We have a lot of entertainment, things like that. So that's kind of where we want to.
Might be added food. Different food. You got the
food truck,
but it might be added food.
It's a whole other dimension.
Food side, yeah.
I'm not scared.
Yeah.
So,
we'll have Kevin Hellegard come in later. Sells ice cream. We often bring a razor thing with the Dairy Queen. Does the same thing. Sell burgers. Everybody in town sells a burger.
Yep. I know they have a little bit of food there, but and then it goes for a few months a year. Which I'm always bummed, but sometimes in the middle of winter I want ice cream.
Me too, but it's gotten so he opens back up in February.
Yeah, he's short now.
Or April,
a little bit.
Yeah. It builds up, a demand. It's like he says, the first few weeks that he's open in spring, February, it's just gangbusters.
We make a beer that people really, really like, and then it goes off tap for a while, and then they're pissed, because it's not there. But I can't have everybody's favorite. So you gotta. It's back on tap again. So you create that demand for some of these things.
We're kind of dragging us out and BSing about things we don't really need. I'd like to thank Steve for coming, and thanks for joining in. Other Steve out there, and
thanks for the recommendation of the
book. Quiz, but that's all right.
Yeah, it's a good one.
So hope you can join us next week. I got right now for next week 2:00, but that's going to change Tuesday all next week, or all next Tuesday. I got to be in Billings, and so I already talked to her. We're going to reschedule that for probably Wednesday morning or Wednesday late afternoon. Figure out, I'll put that up on the Bright Space site so you guys will know. So, all right, thanks again.
Okay.
All right. Thanks.
Thank you.